All right, let's have a show.
Have a show.
It's time for a Big Blue Kickoff Live
Nobody can ever tell you that you couldn't do it because you did.
on Giants.com
You know what I saw? New York Giant pride.
and the Giants mobile app.
17-14 is the final. One touchdown, we are world champions. Believe it, and it will happen.
Part of the Giants Podcast Network.
Let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs having fun.
Welcome to today's episode of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. My name is Madelyn Burke, alongside the Super Bowl champion Shaun O'Hara. The phone number here is 201-939-4513, or you can find us on social media using hashtag GiantsChat. And just a reminder, an archive of this show and our entire podcast network on the Giants mobile app, podcast platforms everywhere, and giants.com/podcast. Thanks for joining us from the Giants podcast studio, presented by Hackensack Meridian Health. Keep getting better. It is Monday, October 6th, and that is really what the Giants are trying to do here, Shaun. Keep getting better.
Easier said than done right now.
Absolutely.
Heidi Ho, partner. We got a heavy lift today. That was a tough one down in NOLA.
Yeah.
It started out great.
It did.
You know, off to a great start. Jackson Dart was throwing darts. I mean, those first two touchdown passes to Theo looked amazing. And
Every
it looked like,
touchdown
man,
he's
this
thrown
offense is
has
rolling.
been to Theo
Here they
Johnson
go.
in the NFL.
And at 14-3, you just felt like, okay, this is great. Now we're going to drop the hammer, put this game on ice. And it just completely unraveled. And it was all self-inflicted. That's what I think is so hard. This was not, oh my gosh, we got out-coached or out-schemed, or it was simple stuff. It was basics, stuff that you wouldn't think would be happening right now in the season. But these are growing pains. These are growing pains that you get with young players. Cam Scadaboo puts the ball on the ground, goes the other way. I mean, worst case scenario, you would think, all right, we fumble the ball, they fall on it, defense out there, sudden change, maybe we get a stop, hold them to a field goal. But for it to go the other way,
The entirety
huge.
of the,
And then Jackson Dart just literally running with the ball in one hand, and it squirts right out like a banana.
untouched. Yeah.
Those are things that just, they wreck you. And
Well,
the penalties too. There were a lot of self-inflicted wounds in this game, and it's really tough because it's a game that they very well had a chance to win on the road going
Right.
down there. I mean, they did everything right. Start fast. They went no huddle, scored in the red zone both times. Boom. That's like the recipe for a win on the road. And then they just didn't finish it.
Well, and especially when you think about with a young quarterback like Jackson Dart in there, it felt like, as a viewer, you could see that when things started to get out of control, when the mistakes started piling up, the confidence level of the team as a whole, the body language faded. Is that something that, have you experienced that? Is that like the veteran players need to kind of, you see, Aaron Stinney kind of talking to the guys on the sideline saying, hey, whatever, gassing up the younger players. But the mental game is almost just as important as the physical, right? Be a goldfish. Okay, yes, I made that mistake. Yes, I know better than to just hold the ball and drop it like that. I know better than these certain moments for all of these players. I'm not singling out anyone. But when those mistakes start piling up, does that get too big at sometimes? I
think this locker room, and we've seen the veteran leadership on this team. I didn't see any of that on this team. I didn't see anybody, pointing fingers.
No.
Obviously, the young players, look, they took ownership. They took accountability after the game. Jackson Dart said it himself. So I think that they handled all that adversity well from a sideline, hey, we're still in this, we're still together standpoint. I didn't feel like there was any fractures in that moment, but it just seems like, usually in games like that, hey, something happens, the momentum, you can find a way to kind of get the train back on the tracks. And every single time they started, it seemed like they were getting, okay, hey, they're getting control of the game again.
Yeah.
Boom, something else bad happened. And it was a different player every time.
Right.
It was a drop pass, it was a defensive penalty, it was a brain fart on defensive coverage, leads to a big play. And ultimately, those big plays, look, my rookie year in Cleveland, Chris Palmer used to come in and say, guys, after every single game, there will be 3, 4, maybe 5 plays that we will come back in here and look at and say, this is why we won and this is why we lost. Mm-hmm. And those 4 plays ended up in touchdowns for the Saints, and that's why you lose the game. And it's 4 plays, literally.
Yeah. And that 5th turnover, which, while unfortunate, was one that you it's almost practically like a punt. You're going forward on 4th down. You're kind of chucking it up there.
Yeah.
They get the ball in
That
essentially
one-
the same part of it. You wouldn't have been able to pin it there with a punt from that field position.
So you're talking about the interception where
The
Jackson
last
Dart
one,
rolled
yeah.
out. So the problem that I have with that play is 4th and 6, and he had Bo Collins on a crossing route.
Right.
And if Jackson Dart gets the ball out right now, hits him in stride, he's
Yeah.
going to make the first down and get out of bounds. And he just never saw him. His eyes were down the field because as soon as he started to run, he immediately started looking downfield. If he had just hit Bo Collins on that crossing route, it's a first down.
But does some of
and you
that
don't even
come
need
with,
that.
by the time you're at that point in the game and things are so out of control, you're not seeing things with that level set that you go into the game with. You're seeing things with more of a sense of urgency and of oh God, I got to make something big happen here instead of just, okay, one chunk at a time.
Yeah, I think, whenever you get into that situation, and Jackson Dart's been in this before, he's been a
Absolutely.
quarterback his whole career.
Yeah.
It's don't always think you've got to make the touchdown throw. It's game situation. Hey, it's 4th down. I got to get the first down. So it's first down to touchdown. If the touchdown's there and it's wide open, absolutely you take it. But you take the first down initially. That should always be your first option to move the sticks, to keep it going. When you're down 2 scores, you can't get back in the game with one throw. So you've got to have layered a thought process in that. Look, first down is most important right now. And the interception at the end of the game. So we're saying, hey, 5 turnovers. That interception we talked about on 4th down, better decision. Maybe they get the first down. And then the touchdown, the other interception at the end of the game, I thought Bo Collins stopped running. So Jackson Dart, look, it was a questionable throw, but he throws the ball where he thinks the receiver's going to keep running to,
Right.
and your receiver stops short and doesn't finish the route, and now it's a pick. So those 2 interceptions are 2 totally different things.
Very, yeah.
I think the one on 4th down was on Jackson Dart. The last one, I put that on the receiver. But those are all, that's part of the growth process of young players. And it sucks when you lose. It sucks to hear that, and it sucks as a player to know, like, all right, I'm taking my lumps, and the team's got to suffer with me. And Giants fans, look, I realize that their patience is below sea level.
Yeah. Well, and the best part, though, is whether you're a young player or a veteran player, the first thing you want to do when you suffer a loss like that is get back on the field and
Get a short week.
get another
How
one.
quick can we get another one?
How quick can we get another one? Luckily, very quickly. Both of these teams, the Giants and the Eagles, both coming off a loss. The Eagles coming off a loss in which they gave up 18 points, 18 unanswered points in the 4th quarter. The Broncos came back and beat them. Their first loss of the season. The Giants coming off a loss in which 23 unanswered points from the Saints, and giving Kellen Moore and Spencer Rattler his first win as a starter. Both these teams coming to look into this game of like, all right, let's get back on track. For the Giants and for a young team like this, though, when you look at the coachable moments and how eager this group is to turn it around, it's a tough opponent in Philly, but how do you assess this one?
Well, I think, look, anytime you have a divisional game, like, you're automatically amped up.
Yeah.
And so divisional game, I don't care if it's a short week, long week, London, overseas, wherever, you're juiced up for this. And the fact that the Eagles, look, they're defending Super Bowl champions. So they're divisional opponents, Super Bowl champs, and they've kicked our butt the last couple of years. So this is all hands on deck. I have zero concern about this team being ready to play.
Right.
You're going to be amped up and ready to rock. Obviously, they're coming off of a loss too. You brought up the 4th quarter. They've been struggling to close out games all season.
Eagles, yeah?
The Eagles have.
Yeah.
So I feel like, look, the Giants didn't play well in the 4th quarter either. But now you're getting to the part of the season where, it's get the game into the 4th quarter and find a way to win.
Yeah.
The game is not over in the 2nd quarter or the 3rd quarter. You can't go up 14-3. The Giants just experienced that, and all of a sudden think, all right, hey, we got the game. No, there's a lot of football. You have to play 4 quarters. The Eagles found that out. The Giants found that out. I think the big thing will be for the Giants defense. Look, they got to eliminate the big plays here.
Right.
But more importantly, they've got to stop the run. They came into the Saints game with the NFL worst 6.1 yards allowed on the ground per carry.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was 5.5 against the Saints. But that's going to be, mission number 1. Stop Saquon Barkley. Stop Jalen Hurts, who they're going to have.
And both
run
have
the
had
ball.
uncharacteristically low numbers compared to last season, in which that they won a Super Bowl. The Eagles are finding a way to win, but the numbers statistically, if you look at what Jalen Hurts is doing, it's it's good. It's not comparative to what he's done last year. Saquon Barkley, it's good, but he's averaging 3.2 yards per carry. That's much lower than what you'd expect. And so
it's not the track meet that they were putting on display last year.
They're finding ways to win rather than dominating. And like you mentioned, this week the Broncos were able to capitalize and come back in the fourth quarter. The week prior, the Bucks really kind of mounted a comeback. They almost came back and won that one. Didn't quite finish it, but it seemed like the Eagles left room for them to close that gap late in the game. So they
should have lost to the Rams too.
Right. So this isn't like an unstoppable.
At the end.
Yeah. So they're anytime you get on the field in an NFL game, it's a winnable opportunity if you're prepared and you're ready for it.
Yeah, I think one of the big factors, obviously, turnovers. Giants are -5 right now.
Yeah.
Eagles are +5. So that's a huge swing right there. So as much as Eagles fans are complaining about their lack of production offensively, they're not coughing the ball up, they're not turning it over. So
right.
That's a big part of this game. But look, Thursday Night Football, right here at MetLife. This place should be rocking. I think the last time that they were here, with the home victory, that place felt like Giants fans, were into it from the get-go, and
Giants,
they went down on an
Chargers,
opening drive touchdown. That was huge. So they need that same kind of start at home on Thursday night.
Start strong and maintain it, and if there's a hiccup along the way, get right back on course. Giants fans, make sure you go and subscribe to the Giants Huddle podcast. It features long-form interviews with Giants players, coaches, and front office staff, past and present. Plus, hear from the best analysts covering Big Blue and the NFL. Just search for Giants Huddle and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, or simply go to giants.com/podcast. And don't forget, if you're on Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star positive review for all of our Giants podcasts. Let us know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe. You know the deal. 201-939-4513 is the phone number. Let's head to the phone lines. They're lighting up. Let's start with Scott in New Mexico. Scott, welcome to Big Blue Kickoff Live. You're on the show with Shaun and Madelyn.
Hi, guys. Good afternoon. I think you both made very relevant points. The thing that concerns me, though, is the status of the defense and why they're having the issues they're having. Their defensive line was ranked like third best right now in the NFL. However, they're giving up almost 380 yards per game, which I don't personally understand when you have that kind of front four. That means that your players playing in the back of them are not doing the job, and their tackling, as we've talked about in umpteen times, is not where it's supposed to be. So what is the problem? Why can't they put a cohesive defense together? Because you're not going to win in the NFL if your defense is suspect. And it appears to be, watching the game, they just can't seem to control the big play, nor can they control, when it's essential to stop someone. And I for the life of me do not understand why that defense is struggling the way they are. Perhaps you have an answer that I'm not seeing, but it seems every time I watch the game, I'm seeing, what are they doing? And I think the points you made, both of you, were relevant, but at the end of the day, your defense is going to be determining who's going to win the football game, generally speaking. So what is the major problem? What do you see that I don't see?
Thanks for the call, Scott.
Yeah, Scott, appreciate that. I think, look, it's not one thing. It's not something like, hey, this is the obvious situation or the obvious issue that would be easy to fix. It's a conglomeration of different errors. It is, guys coming down, not inserting in the right gap, and now you've got, a running back hitting a gap, full speed, and now he's into the backfield. So it's angles. There have been some missed tackles. I think also, the Giants have been playing. I think they play more man coverage than any defense in the league. Yeah. So when you play man coverage, guess what? Now all of a sudden you have guys with their backs to the ball. So now you're more susceptible to quarterback scrambles. The rushing yards and the stat that I said before about 6 yards to carry, they've given up a lot of rushing yards to the quarterbacks. And some of that is scrambles, some of that's quarterback design runs, but it's a lot of different factors. And look, I think that's one of the things that is a little befuddling, because when the Giants hired Shane Bowen, the whole point of bringing him in was we're going to stop the run. He's been phenomenal. His track record in Tennessee against the run was outstanding, and that was part of the reason why he came to the Giants, and that was going to be one of the big strong suits of this defense. So it's odd to see that, and with a guy like Dexter Lawrence in front and Nunes Roches came back and with Burns and Thibodeau, there's been a lot of times where, man, they've been extremely stout, but they have allowed a lot of big runs. There was a couple of big runs against the Chargers, and those things inflate the stats. Even they make it look even worse. But look, it's an issue. Look, the run game is an issue, and the deep passing play has been an issue.
And I'll add the penalties too. The Giants came into Week 5 tied, leading the league with defensive penalties. And Shane Bowen earlier today was talking to the media. He's like, we got to do a better job at not panicking down the field. When we got to find some comfort when we're on body and be able to locate the football in that moment, turn the head around instead of just worrying so much about getting that position. And a lot of that comes with getting back to the fundamentals of where getting the feel for when you're on body, when the ball's coming, when you need to turn your head around, and when the moment is for those things. And
some of those penalties, there was 2 of them in the second quarter. It was Drew Phillips, got called for a hold, and he kind of jammed in the slot. And then there was another one,
the Tay Banks
on
one.
Paulson Adebo, and it was illegal contact. It happened at 6 yards, which you're only allowed 5 yards. So, those are things that you've got to eliminate because now it's automatic first down. The one thing that I've always felt like offensively, if we can convert on third downs and stay on the field, now the defense starts to get a little tired. That's when you can run the ball. So the fact that the Giants have struggled on third down via penalty, giving up a second and long, third and long when you've got them bottled up and you should be able to get off the field, now they get another set of downs. Now all of a sudden you're a little fatigued. And I think that's, one of the toughest things to do is stop the run when you're tired.
Well,
so if they get off the field, hey, 3 and out, now the defense stays fresh. Now they got a little more vinegar, and they're attacking a little bit differently. So that's one of the things that they can do is get off the field.
And that Chargers game too, third down was a marked improvement. And then you go back to New Orleans, 3 of 10 on third down, and it's it's tough to pinpoint exactly what the struggle is there.
Yeah, and I think that the biggest surprise defensively really was the lack of the pass rush. They did a great job. You have to give the Saints credit. They were not going to let Spencer Rattler stand back there in 5 7-step drops and burp the baby and get waylaid. They had a rookie at left tackle in Banks.
Yeah.
Their right guard was inactive, Cesar Ruiz. So they were down a couple of guys, and they had a good game plan. They were chipping with the tight ends. They were sliding, one way and chipping with the running back on the other side. So they did a good job.
And they got the ball out pretty
that
quickly too. Spencer Rattler did because you saw
it was out in 2 to 3 seconds.
Yeah, there were some moments in which you thought, had he held the ball another beat, player would have gotten home. Darius Alexander, we saw he did get to the quarterback, but it wasn't counted as a sack because Spencer Rattler was on the run, very close to his first NFL sack. But you see those moments, like you said, the pressure and the way that the Saints adjusted for that pass rush was effective.
Yeah, they weren't going to let what happened to the Chargers happen to them. They saw the fire and they're like, all right, we got to find a way to put that fire out and slow it down, and they did a good job of that.
They just didn't start the fire. We didn't. All right, anyways. Giants fans, the Giants Foundation will host a 5K race and kids run presented by Quest on Sunday, October 26th at 9 a.m. at MetLife Stadium. Net proceeds will benefit the Giants Foundation. All participants will receive a commemorative T-shirt, and after the race, stay for a post-race festival with appearances by Giants legends and a live DJ. Register now at giants.com/5K to run or walk with Shaun O'Hara and friends. The Giants Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit corporation. Let's head back to the phone lines. 201-939-4513 is the phone number. Jacob in Binghamton. Jacob, welcome to the show. You're on Big Blue Kickoff Live with Shaun and Madelyn.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Doing great. How are you?
Good. Just a few questions for you. Trying to keep it a little bit more lighthearted, even though that's not really how I feel. Not really sure who has the final say in the 53, but going into another game with 51 guys on the roster, it's hard for me to believe that Gable wouldn't like to have like a third running back. And I know he addressed it in his press conference saying, kind of making a joke, like if 2 running backs go down, then we don't have running backs. Why would we not elevate someone for that third spot or bring up another wide receiver when we just lost one? That's my first question for you guys.
Well, I would say, too, even if you do elevate 53 players, you still only have 47 active on game day, correct, Shaun? So not everyone gets a jersey. So at this point, you're elevating a player to the 53, but then perhaps, you have to make another player inactive to make them active on game day. So that's also something to be put into consideration there.
The issue also is, with the injury to Gano, they've been activating and deactivating McAtamy.
Jude McAtamy, yeah.
So they kind of flexed him again up from the practice squad, and they're kind of doing some musical chairs with all of that. I think they're hoping Tyrone Tracy will be back shortly, so I know he's kind of waiting in the wings. But yeah, I don't know. Like, what are we doing here? We're talking about the roster. You have to deactivate guys on a Friday, and then you can only dress so many guys. So it doesn't matter if you have 51 or 53. But I think, going into that game, they were adamant about we need extra tight ends. The receiver situation was what it was, but I don't think that really. What does that mean? What did it do? I don't understand why that's an issue and why people are bringing that up. Like, that had zero impact on the game.
Yeah, I wasn't really bringing it up as it had an effect on the game, because us having a third running back or a fifth string wide receiver isn't going to change the outcome of the game. Just more as malpractice, like where he said, like, what happened if I understand they had talked about Wandale being our third string running back, but just if one of those guys go down, it completely hurts.
So where's the malpractice? I don't understand.
Like I was
Do you
saying,
think
like,
that Brian Dable and that coaching staff didn't spend
so
hours thinking about all of these situations and scenarios? What happens if this guy goes down? What happens if this guy goes down? Okay, who is our third running back? You don't think that they went through all those scenarios?
And I think, Jacob, to your point of Dable's comment on the...
I'm saying they do go through those scenarios, but like, is Wandale as our second string running back like a great idea? I just wasn't
he would be the third string.
Guys.
Yeah,
just
like for example, if your quarterbacks get injured, and you remember, a couple of years ago there was a point in time where Saquon was under center having to run a play. Sometimes you have to have in case of emergency break glass situations, but you're not expecting that emergency. Dable's comment, as you referred to, about sometimes both running backs get injured, and that's something you have to deal with. You have to have, in the worst case scenario, just like in hockey, they have an emergency goalie somewhere in the building. Maybe he's working the concession stand. I don't know. You don't hope that that's the case, but in case of emergency, you have these options. But you can only have so many players active with a jersey on game day. So some of these situations, you have to go into the game saying, all right, well, hopefully this circumstance won't call for that break glass situation.
Yeah, and the other aspect to this, too, that you have to think about is special teams. So you have to, the guys that dress on game day, they have to contribute on special teams as well. So when you look at the Giants dressed Fedoni and Manhertz, Theo, and Bellinger. So they had 4 tight ends. Most teams probably do 3, but unless I'm missing another tight end, it was 4. Mm-hmm. So the Wandale Robinson would be your third running back. That's in case both running backs went down ahead of him. I think that's very low probability, but those are things that week to week you kind of have to figure out. Like, okay, this week is different. We're gonna dress 4 tight ends. We're gonna use a lot of heavy tight end packages because Malik Neighbors is out. So we're gonna kind of change the way we do things offensively, and that was the plan going forward. And I don't see any issue with that. I don't think that was negligence by any means. If you said, hey, we didn't have a plan for a third running back, okay, maybe now I could say, well, maybe you should have thought about that. But I guarantee you they go through all those situations. That is something that every single coaching staff goes through every week, and it changes every week based on injuries.
I'll just thank you for expounding on that. I didn't know the actual rules with the 53, that there was only 47 or 48, I think she said, that are active.
Yeah, 47, I believe, because there's 6. Usually right before the game, you'll get a list of the inactives.
And the quarterback is one of those.
Yeah, the third quarterback. And, that's why you see oftentimes, linemen are inactive because you can only really have so many active on a game day.
Yeah, the reason why they do that, too, just so you know, is so that you don't have a team, hey, if all 53 guys are healthy and this team has 5 guys hurt, now they're going into the game shorthanded and we're only playing with, 47 players. That's why they reduce the number so that it keep it even on game day.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then the second one, I'll just take the answer off air.
Okay.
It seemed like, and I haven't seen the tape, and I don't get the tape or anything like that, but it seemed like just watching from home.
Wait, hold on one second.
There's a lot of plays.
I'll be right back.
Jacob, not to be rude, Shaun is swapping out for John Schmelk, so I will listen to your question as they make the change. But go ahead. A lot of plays.
It seemed like there was a lot of plays. Just watching from home where Dart had, it seemed like the offensive line, first off, gave him a substantial amount of time or an adequate amount of time behind the pocket. And it seemed like there was a lot of plays where he was in the pocket and he had time to go through his reads. There was nothing there that we saw, and, maybe you guys watching the tape, you'll obviously find a few plays where there's some open receivers that he may have missed. But it seemed like there was plays where he went through his progressions, rolled out of the pocket, extended the play, there still wasn't anything, and he tried to force something or just ran it. And I've seen people saying we need to sign a receiver to get through the season. And in my opinion, not much is to win games or to be competitive, but just for Dart's growth and to not hurt his development, it would be a good idea to maybe bring some more guys in.
All right. Well,
I'll take that off there.
All right. Thanks for the call, Jacob. And for those watching wondering what just happened, Shaun O'Hara has an interview to do quickly. So John Schmelk is stepping in for Shaun for the time being.
Let's talk some offensive line.
Exactly. No notes. And for those listening who can't see the swap and are wondering, wait, Shaun, your voice suddenly sounds different. John Schmelk is now joining the show. And as Jacob was asking, I got to point out, when I walked in here to the building this morning, Schmelk was deep in the film. So I'll let you take this one here.
Yeah, and I actually I've not gone to the defense yet. I did watch the offense, and that's what Jacob's question was about. So, Jacob, what I'll tell you is that there were opportunities down the field. And to your point, the offensive line, I thought, did do a pretty good job. Jermaine Illuminor probably had his worst game this year, but it still wasn't that bad. He still only gave up, I think it was 2 pressures in the game, maybe 3.
A lot of penalties, though, from 72, which
Correct.
was unfortunate. Yeah.
He did. And look, there was pressure on a couple plays, but for the most part, Jackson Dart did have time to throw the football. And there were some opportunities down the field. And look, this is what we talked about with him coming out, right? He's coming from a system in college where a lot of the reads are predetermined, maybe is the wrong word, but they're simplified for you in that Ole Miss system, which is why it's such a good system. This is not Lane Kiffin's fault. This is not Charlie Weiss Jr.'s fault. You're trying to win games and score points in college, and and that's what they're doing. And I think he's going to need a little bit more seasoning here so that he can. I don't know. Again, I'm not a Jackson Dart's head. I'm not in the meetings. Everyone has said he has good vision. He sees it. He's just not getting to it then. Whatever the reason might be, there are some guys that have been open on some of these plays that he has not gotten to, like on that interception down the field to Hyatt. Mm-hmm. Bo Collins is right shallow, dragging, and not even just at the end of the play, in the middle of the play. When he's in the pocket, he's open. There was a play earlier when he hit Slayton on a crossing pattern, and you would hide in the middle of the field. So,
and some of that, though, too, could be coming from a position of pressing a little bit, of thinking like, oh no, things are getting a little out of control. Let me make a big play here to get things back on track.
And Madelyn, he's a rookie quarterback.
Exactly.
That's what you're going to get with rookies, and that's why when we said this at the beginning, a rookie quarterback's not going to save you. Right. He's not going to save your season. He's not going to put a team on his back because he has to get used to this stuff. This is not a critique of Jackson Dart.
No.
All rookie quarterbacks go through this, where things have to be set up for them a little bit more. That's just the way it goes. But as he gets more experience, as he sees it more and he does it more, that type of stuff is going to get better. Now, would you like to have more guys that can make explosive plays? Sure. To me, the problem with this game wasn't the receivers not getting open. It was the guys not making the plays when they had the opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, Darius Slayton had 2 chances in the middle of the field deep. Jalen Hyatt had a chance on the sideline deep on another play.
A couple, yeah.
So they got open. And again, tip your cap to the offensive coaching staff. I thought Mike Kafka actually called a hell of a game.
Right. Guys
are open a lot in this game, and they just couldn't finish some of those plays.
Right. And that's the thing is, when you have an opportunity like that, you gotta finish that. And Mike Kafka talked about that. Hey, we had opportunities. I've got a lot of confidence in our receiving group. He said earlier, we had opportunities, just didn't capitalize on them. And that's the big thing. It's, what do you make from those opportunities? Hyatt had a couple of targets later in the game, wasn't able to capitalize. You mentioned Slayton, he had a couple of moments that he addressed. He wasn't able to capitalize. And when those things are going awry, Kafka also mentioned everyone's got to step up. If there's one piece that's off, play's not going to go the way you want it to.
Hey, look, we did a 2-hour pregame show on the radio before the game on Sunday, and probably a quarter of it was spent talking about how they would survive without Malik Neighbors. Right. That was the big story heading into the game, other than Jackson Dart heading into a second start.
Yeah.
And I will say that no one stepped up and did what they needed to do in that game. Yeah. Again, just from the opportunities that were missed. Now, Philadelphia on Thursday, they'll get another chance at it, and we'll see if Darius Slayton can even play. Remember, he left that game with a hamstring injury. It's a quick turnaround. Soft tissue injuries, 3 days. It's hard.
Well, and a hamstring's a tough one to come back from,
especially
because if you've ever dealt with that, it's one of those injuries that you'll feel good, you'll feel 100%, and then all of a sudden you'll get back into your normal routine and it'll tweak again. That's why they got a Nord board back there, which is a very high-tech machine that measures the strain and ability of your hamstring. I don't know. Now I'm getting into the weeds.
Wow,
of the
that is in the weeds. I like that. I don't even know what that is. What is it? A Nord board?
It's a Nord board, yeah.
Okay.
So it's not actually a board, but it's what it's called. And you kind of get on it and you kind of do I don't know how to call it, but you're standing like this, and then you bend forward and bend back, and you use your hamstrings to use that.
So it measures the tension on the muscles?
Measures the tension on the muscles, the strength, the exertion, and how strong and whatever. So you could feel great, but a hamstring is a really tough one because when you feel 100%, you still have maybe a couple days before you actually are.
And then if you retweak it again,
then
instead of it being 1 to 2 weeks, then when you retweek it, it's 4 to 6.
Yeah.
And that's when it gets tricky.
Yeah, so we don't want any hamstring issues, especially from guys trying to run fast down the field.
No.
Giants fans, with another impactful draft and free agency class in the books, this means it's full steam ahead to the 2025 season. Take your fandom to the next level with a Giants season ticket membership. Catch all the action at MetLife Stadium with an exciting home schedule on the horizon, including Thursday Night Football this week. And with the membership, you'll also stay connected to the club all year round, not just on game days, with exclusive member access and benefits. So to learn more about a Giants season ticket membership, visit giants.com/tickets. 201-939-4513 is the phone number. Let's head back to the phone lines. Lou in Pennsylvania. Lou, welcome to the show. You're on with John Schmelk and Madelyn Burke.
Hey everyone, how you doing?
What's up, Lou?
Doing well. How are you?
Okay. So I have a different question. So it seems like, and I'm going from a management perspective, because I feel like when you have somebody in charge and the person in charge is just like over energetic, or it's just the energy they put out, it seems like the team follows. And it seems like sometimes Brian Dable is on the sideline and he just like, it could be the cameras, it could be how the broadcast puts it over, but it just seems like he's just always just they're going crazy for the most part. I don't say going crazy, I might be saying it wrong, but it just seems like he's just almost too over energetic, and it seems like the team is feeding off it. And with the big plays, it just seems like, and Carl Banks was talking about this on the Bob Popper show on the Believe Network, that they buy the cornerbacks are biting the free safeties, not even the corners. Like on the big play, Nubin bit on that play and he couldn't recover. Why is that happening? I'll take the answers off here. Thank you.
No, thank you, Lou.
Thanks,
Look,
Lou.
I mean, I don't think Brian Dable's an emotional guy, but he's very much in control play to play. Like you watch him and they're looking at his play sheet like that. That I don't see as being an issue. As for the Nubin play specifically, if you look at that, I was talking to Tiki Barber about it this morning, who I do the pre- and post-game with, and he looked at it again this morning. We talked about it a lot in the post-game yesterday. They're in quarters, which is basically, 2 safeties deep. And on a play like that, you have the player win a motion, and then Shaheed ran a post corner where you fake the post, and then you cut off and you run a deep corner route. And Nubin has help inside where Javon Holland is, and Nubin has to stay outside on that. So the reason that worked for the offense, for the Saints, is that Nubin starts to follow him on the post, flips his hips. Once the guy goes back to the sideline, Nubin has to turn again, and Rashid Shaheed's a 4-3 player.
Yeah. He's
gone. And especially since Nubin's a 4-5 player. So already Shaheed has the speed on him. So Nubin has to let him go to the post, right? If he's going to go to the post, let your teammate help him. That's why your teammate's there.
Trust that your teammate is going to make that play.
Do your job.
Yeah.
Right? Your job there is the sideline. And if your job is to cover Shaheed if he gets to the sideline, and he bit on the post where he didn't have to because there's help there, and then the guy beat him to the sideline where there's no help, and that's how it turns into an 87-yard touchdown.
And Rashid Shaheed hit over 21 miles per hour on that play, which is the fastest anyone has gotten on a...
Is that true? Fastest all year for anyone?
All year so far. Yeah.
Around the whole NFL?
I mean, I guess when you've got that much green grass to level up to speed, and you got some time there.
No, but look, that's what he does, though. That's what Rashid Shaheed is. He is a big play, speed playmaker, and they got the matchup on a safety, which you like, and Nubin has to understand that, look, this guy's faster than me. I have to stay on top of the route. I have to know where my help is, play the proper leverage. And that's why fans don't want to hear this, but there's the little small things.
Yeah.
That you make a small mistake with leverage, you make a small mistake on responsibility. That can turn what should be an incomplete pass or a pass that's never thrown because Holland's there to help you on the post into an 87-yard touchdown.
Well, and I think we're all guilty of that, right? In certain moments, you think, okay, this is my role, this is my, colleague or my teammate's role. But every once in a while, we're like, oh, let me chime in because I have something to offer here. I have something to help here. Instead of just saying, okay, you know what, that's their category. Let me trust that they're going to do that. Let me focus on what I'm doing.
And again, I should point out that was Tiki's kind of breakdown of the whole thing. And I will trust Tiki's breakdown. I don't know what the coach is saying in the coach's room, but I will trust Tiki, who has done this and is a very smart guy to know what he's talking about.
Absolutely. And just credit to that. And also just kind of reminding people that that's kind of human nature. It's hard to override that human nature when you think, okay, there's nothing going on over here, but my teammate over there might need some help. Let me do that instead of just trusting, all right, just in case something's going on over here, let me stand by.
Hey, look, no one wants to hear from Bill Belichick with the way UNC's playing. I get that. But the do your job mantra rings true.
Also,
and it does. You have to do your job.
Also, just the ESPN broadcast throwing shade with that interview of the student
who
said,
it on social
I watched
media.
the TCU game, and it's the worst experience of my college career, and I failed midterms.
Midterms. That was the kicker line. That was the kicker line at the end. Yeah.
I failed midterms, and I was like, wow.
Not great. Not great.
Not great, Bill. Anyway, we digress. Let's get back to programming here. The Giants' official connected TV streaming app, Giants TV, brings original video content and game highlights on demand and direct to Big Blue fans. Giants TV is free on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire TV, and the Giants mobile app.
I like how Johnny Mac got tired of looking at ESPN, so he put on game shows on Fox while the show was on. I don't blame you, dude. I really don't. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I just thought that was funny. I think Scrabble is on right now or something like that.
Usually, for those of you who are wondering, so where we're sitting right now, we're facing a camera, and then Johnny Mac is up there against the wall, and there's big TV straight ahead of us. Right now, we got 25 words or less.
25 words or less.
Game show I've never heard of.
I have never heard of 25 words or less either.
Usually we've got some sort of sports programming
on,
whether it's ESPN or
NFL Network. Yeah.
Every once in a while we'll have MLB TV. It is the playoffs.
Johnny Mac's a big 25 words or less fan.
Game
big
show.
fan.
I've never paid attention to
Oh, wow. Oh, now he's saying he doesn't pay attention to the TV.
Well, unless it's on 25 words or less.
Yeah, but now, clearly Johnny Mac is locked in. Well, we're gonna pull Johnny Mac away from his game show watching to run the phone lines for us again. So we go back to the phones. 201-939-4513 is the phone number. Sebastian in Las Vegas. Sebastian, thanks for calling in. You're on Big Blue Kickoff Live with
what's up, man?
Schmelk and Madelyn.
Hey. How are you guys doing today?
Could be better, Sebastian. How are you?
We're definitely using 25 words or more.
I had two questions for you guys just real quick, both offense and defensive. I do just want to state I'm not one for moral victories, but I didn't feel like I didn't feel like the Saints beat us. I felt like we beat ourselves.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would disagree with you.
And that's what I said. The first thing I said in the postgame with Tiki last night, Sebastian, the thing that's most frustrating to me about this game is that you didn't feel like, except for that Shaheed play, and tip your cap, that was a big play for them.
Yeah.
The Saints didn't do anything all that spectacular in this game to win it.
And even with the Shaheed play, the Giants still had a lead. The Giants
100%.
still had control of the situation. And the Giants still,
Look, five turnovers.
Yeah, the Saints went for a field goal to take the lead. They missed. The Giants get the ball, turn it over, and then give them a mulligan on that field goal.
And especially one of those was completely unforced. Jackson Dart just letting the ball slip out of his hands. So anyway, Sebastian, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I apologize.
Yeah. No, it's okay. It just sucks because I feel like we are a better team than what we're showing on the field. So for my first offensive question, it's mainly about Jackson Dart. And just knowing about young QBs in the league, and when they kind of go into these situations on teams, I'm going to throw some shade at the Browns, they don't have enough of a supporting cast to kind of help the growth of a QB. And my issue with Jackson Dart right now is that I'm afraid that he's going to develop these bad habits because of the injuries that we have. Now we don't have Malik Neighbors. Darius Slayton, which I do love him, he's having issues as well. So I'm worried that Jackson Dart's going to be trying to develop this almost hero ball mentality, and which I'm very happy that I saw him sliding. I've never cheered a QB slide as much as I did yesterday.
We were all so proud.
But when he did, I was like, okay, that's improvement. But then when things started kind of falling behind, and I felt like he felt the pressure of the team falling behind, he started to take those mental errors, and I don't want those to be habits.
No, look, you're right. And losing Malik Neighbors hurts, and that's one of the questions we talked about last week. How does the loss of Malik Neighbors impact Dart's development? And I think that's a fair question. This week, I don't think we saw him have bad habits because of Malik Neighbors' absence. He made throws to guys that were open when they were open for the most part. Other guys, like I mentioned, I thought maybe he didn't quite, get the ball where he needed to on a couple of plays. But long term, could we be having this conversation? Sure. I think issues on the offensive line will probably have more of an adverse impact than absence at wide receiver, just because, constant pressure in your face. We've seen that what that can do to quarterbacks before. But look, do quarterbacks need guys that can consistently get open to succeed? Absolutely. We haven't seen a team play a ton of man-to-man versus the Giants yet. Both their teams the last 2 weeks, the Chargers last week and, of course, the Saints this week, are heavy zone teams. Mm-hmm. The Eagles also play a lot of zone. But look, this to me is going to be a really challenging game, Sebastian, on Thursday. Because Vic Fangio is just wonderful. He's probably the best defensive coordinator in football. They have two excellent defensive backs in Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, who are great. And
although they have shown the last couple of weeks that they start strong, but they leave room for teams to come back.
They do. That is true. My other worry is, and I said this earlier, Madelyn, that the Giants have protected Jackson Dart really well the first 2 weeks.
Yes.
What happens when they don't? And
well,
you're never going to
protect.
protect.
Don't see that.
No, but look, an offensive line is never going to be perfect. An offensive line is going to have bad games. It just happens.
Yeah, and Dart wasn't untouched.
No, he wasn't. But here comes Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter.
Right.
Like, they have not faced guys like that
yes.
quite yet. So I'm curious to see against that coordinator with those corners and those two interior pass rushers where, Madelyn, if the Giants have had issues up front with protection this year, it has been in the middle more than on the edge, especially with Andrew Thomas being back.
True.
What does that look like? And how does Jackson Dart handle that potential challenge, especially on a short week against a team like the Eagles? So that, to me, Sebastian, will be a really, really nice test for him. And then, by the way, you get the Broncos, who have a great defense the following week, and then you get the Eagles again. Yeah. So the next 3 weeks, I think, will be really 3 tough challenges for Jackson Dart to see where he's at.
Yeah. And to Sebastian's point about the loss of Malik Neighbors, what does that do for a young quarterback? I think one of the biggest things is it affects how he sees the defense because of the fact that a player like Neighbors draws so much attention from the defense that, you can kind of trust that there's a little bit more leeway in another direction.
Sure.
Whereas when you don't have a clear number one target in Malik Neighbors, you don't have a place that is going to suck the oxygen of the defense on this side of the field, so you have a little bit more flexibility on that side or whatnot. That changes the way, you're reading things, I would imagine.
And he's also an easy answer, right? If you're playing man-to-man defense, you have Malik Neighbors one-on-one, guess what? You're throwing it to him.
Absolutely.
And Brian Daboll will coach that and say, look, you have him one-on-one, and Malik Neighbors is getting the football, and he will make a contested play. I don't know if you necessarily have a guy that you can treat that way now, Sebastian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No, that definitely makes sense. I guess when into that point of like the offense and the receivers and stuff, like that last play, or not the last play, but the last interception that Jackson Dart threw with Bill Collins, that was probably the play that frustrated me the most, was because it just looked like I'm just from a visual perspective, it just looked like Bill Collins just didn't want to be out there. Like maybe he did, right? Of course he wants to be out there, but it looked like there was not enough effort into that play that Bo Collins was in there.
Sebastian, thanks for the call. And what I would say on that play, Bo Collins runs the route. He sees the cornerback, anticipates the route. The cornerback kind of cuts him off a little bit. So I think what Bo Collins is thinking, now this is incorrect thinking, but what he's thinking is that, all right, the route's cut off, I'm not getting the ball.
Yeah.
It's covered. But Jackson Dart throws the ball, which is why even when you're going to be covered, you have to finish your route. And if he runs through that, I still don't think he catches it, Madelyn, but at least he'll get a hand on the ball, and then it's not going to get intercepted. You know what I mean?
If you know you're not getting the ball, you still have to sell the route because the defense doesn't know you're not getting the ball.
Correct.
And the defense doesn't know that they're not going to try to get the ball.
It's a bad play by Bo Collins.
It's a rookie mistake by Bo Collins because it's like, oh, okay, my work here is done, so I can just stop. No, because you are part of the orchestra of it all,
And again, I said this to you off the air this morning when we were talking. Tiki Barber, one of his phrases is that rookies do stupid things.
Yeah.
All right? Jackson Dart's holding the ball with one hand, it squirts out. Bo Collins stops on a route, it gets intercepted. Cam Scatterbo and, Jackson Dart throws the other pick, and Cam Scatterbo fumbles the football. Rookies. If you're playing a lot of rookies and you're depending on a lot of rookies, you're going to get mistakes.
If you're watching a drone show, right? And the drone show is in perfect sync in the sky and da-da-da, and there's a part of the drone show that's the focal point, right? Maybe the drone is making a face of something. And then there's a part that's not the focal point. If one of those drones that's not in the focal point is not in sync, you're going to notice it because it's not. The key is that everything has to be just so in flow. That was an attempted analogy. I'm workshopping that one, but you get what I'm trying to go with here.
Have you seen a drone show recently? Is that why it came to mind?
I don't really actually know if I've seen one recently. Sometimes my mind works in mysterious ways. I think it makes me understand Jameis Winston better because when he goes off on random tangents, I'm like, I see how you got there.
I think the only drone show I saw was the one that we did here in the off season.
Oh yeah, a couple of years ago there was one for the
100th anniversary. Yeah,
and they did a sexy Dexy sack dance in the drone show.
It was very cool.
It was very cool. But imagine if like one of the drones on like Dexter's foot wasn't in sync. Like that's not the focal point of the drone show. But suddenly you're like, why is that one not doing what it is? And that's all you're looking at.
And your eyes go there. That's correct.
Yeah. So it's everyone's got to continue to do their role, even if you think you're not getting the ball. Long story long. 201-939-4513 is the phone number. Brian in New York. Brian, welcome to Big Blue Kickoff Live. You're on with Schmelk and Madelyn.
Hey, Madelyn and John, you guys do a great job.
Thank you.
I'm pretty reserved in my takes as far as like players normally.
I hear a butt coming.
But Jalen, I mean, it physically makes me ill to see Jalen Hyatt out there. Every time he gets a go ball, I have no confidence that he's going to come down with it. If his only route to run, if there's any one thing you hang on his game, it's supposed to be the long ball, and he's got somebody in his pocket every time, and he cannot make a contested catch.
No, look,
31 catches over the last 3 years.
Well, Brian, that's the frustrating thing because he can run by people, he can get open, but when he's in a contested catch situation, and I was hoping that putting on that extra 18, 20 pounds this offseason would help in those situations. So far, we haven't seen the results.
But we also haven't seen a big sample size either.
No, we haven't. That's true too.
Yeah.
But we have not seen a difference yet that's made in those contested catches.
Yeah, Sunday he didn't seem able to get separation there.
Here's the thing also. I don't feel like Dable wants to put him out there. I feel like there's this pull and tug between like the GM and Dable to justify moving up to get this kid. And,
look, in the game,
you got Bo Collins coming in before him, right?
Yeah, no, but yesterday, Jalen Hyatt played more snaps than Bo Collins. He played about 47% of the snaps, and Bo Collins played about 38% of the snaps.
You might not have noticed Jalen Hyatt coming in before Bo Collins because of the fact that he wasn't targeted earlier on in the game.
Well, and also they just played in the first half. I think they played 2 tight ends and only 2 wide receivers, probably 80% of the time. So you really didn't get Hyatt or Collins out there a ton in the first half at all because they were running out Bellinger and Theo Johnson a lot of those 2 tight end sets too.
Right.
And another thing, I did see a play. It was that long run on 3rd down where Jackson Dart basically ran, I don't know, it was like 15 to 20 yards to get the first down. And Dart got up, and it looked to me like he told him to block because Jalen Hyatt was just sitting there, not doing anything. I get it. You don't want to, he's behind the approaching tacklers to get up, but you can at least make yourself an obstacle to get in the way so he can potentially get more yards.
I did not notice that on that play. I will go back and look at it.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, Brian.
Thank you so much for the call, Brian. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
All right, I have good news for the listeners and viewers out there. Shaun O'Hara is back, so you can get rid of it.
We're passing the baton yet again. Musical chairs, musical chairs. This is the theme song as they switch their chairs. I am so sorry to everyone that just had to listen to my musical stylings right there, but this is just me stalling as Shaun O'Hara puts his. I mean, listen, you didn't have the headphones on while I was singing, so
I missed you singing?
You did, yeah, but I made up a song, a musical chairs theme song. Shaun O'Hara back in the chair. For those listening, not watching, thank you, John Schmelk, for
thank
your
you, Johnny on the spot,
wise insight. And listen, availability, next man up. Schmelk came in
Yeah.
Shaun had
is,
to,
I mean, this is great. This is like, hey, you're in the middle of a drive.
Yeah.
You're substituting in personnel. We went from a, tight end 3 wides to tight end run heavy, and now we're back to whatever, or maybe, I don't know.
Now we're back to our starting formation
You
here.
explained where I went, though, right? That
Yes.
wasn't like
Yeah.
that wasn't a code red.
No. Shaun had to go do an interview. I didn't tell them with whom because I wasn't sure if that's a secret or.
No, it's not a secret.
There you
I
go,
don't think
Daniel
it's a secret.
Bellinger.
Well, Daniel Bellinger. There you go. Now it's out.
Breaking news.
You're singing like a canary right now. Like you're just letting out all the air. Yeah. Now.
Anyway.
No. Yeah. Daniel Bellinger.
How was Daniel
game.
Bellinger?
Belly was great. He had 4 catches in that Saints game. So the tight ends. I mean, look. It wasn't even National Tight End Day, but it started to feel like it with Theo getting 2 quick tutties right out of the gate, and then Belly almost had one on that nice catch. He went for the pylon. So he's a really good dude. Great player. He's so versatile. I don't think people appreciate how hard it is to play tight end and to block on the move.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Okay, so offensive lineman, you're stationary, right? You're blocking the guy right in front of you, or this guy or the linebacker, and you're firing on your stance, you're blocking.
Well,
tight ends are
oftentimes
always
you're
on the
looking
move.
right at the guy that you're about to block.
Right, so you know who it
Yeah.
is. But tight ends, they're in motion. They're on the backside, coming across all the way across the formation to block the defensive end on the backside. So all of their blocking is usually on the move. And that is so hard. It's like hitting a moving target is hard enough.
Yeah.
But now you're moving too. So I always give a lot of love to the tight ends because they have very tough jobs. They don't have a home. They're not receivers, but they run routes with the receivers. They're not linemen, but they are expected to block like linemen. They're kind of in no man's land. They're a hybrid. They've got to be good at both, and there's not enough reps in a practice to be as great as the offensive linemen in the run blocking and as great as the receivers in all the routes. So they've got a tough task.
Yeah, they have a very particular set of skills.
Very well done,
that
Liam
can
Neeson.
make you very dangerous to an opponent at times.
I will find you.
I will find you, and I will block you, is what they say going into these games. And we talked about the receivers. We had a couple great calls talking about that room. And, listen, Theo Johnson has really stepped up in that regard, a trusted target for Jackson Dart. They've got a really good chemistry, too, not just in their handshake after the celebration and all that. Theo's been the recipient of all 3 of Dart's passing touchdowns in the NFL, but also the way that they communicate off the field. I mean, we talked about going into that Chargers game when they were watching film together, and he said, hey, the way that I see this play, if you sit on this instead of actually continuing the run, and you're having the ability to communicate and talk about what you're seeing and coordinate that going into that, that's just building good chemistry from the start.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's great synergy. You can call them stepbrothers, bosom buddies, whatever you want to call them, but that extra factor is what creates that that great rapport. And even on that touchdown throw that Jackson Dart threw, the little skinny slant, he saw it was trips right. He saw that, look, it was man coverage for Theo. And so Theo kind of, you could tell that they knew what was going to happen. And as soon as Jackson Dart caught the ball and he's looking at that safety to see, is he staying in the middle of the field? And then the other safety came running up to cover the running back coming out of the backfield. He knew, I've got a window right here.
Yeah.
And by putting the ball right on Theo, he knew Theo could kind of protect and shield the ball from the defender.
Which is a benefit also of a tight end, is the size and the physicality of the target.
Yeah, and Theo's a big dude. So those kind of plays are things that you love when it happens in the game, because it's like, look, we practiced this and we know this look and we're on the same page, and boom, we're both seeing the same thing and we don't have to say anything. We just know it, and that's when it, it's like Hannibal Smith from the A-Team. I love it when a plan comes together. You got a cigar in the round. I love it when a plan comes together. Any of you A-Team fans out there?
Mm-hmm. The Penn Cigar. Nailed it. 201-939-4513 is the phone number. Let's get back to these last couple calls as the show winds down. We got Tim in Charleston. Tim, welcome to the show. You're on Big Blue Kickoff Live with Shaun and Madelyn. How's it going?
Hey, Madelyn, Shaun. Well, I couldn't even listen to the post-game show last night. I was so disgusted.
What?
Well, sorry, not
you
the
better
one
tune
on
into
the fan.
Madelyn.
And then this morning I listened to you, Madelyn, and Amani. But I had gotten a good night's sleep in between.
I'm glad you got your sleep. That's necessary.
Yeah, we understand the frustration too, but don't turn us off.
No. I've been listening to you guys for years, and I listen every day. So
you can't quit us.
Anyway,
I wish I could quit.
I got a couple of things. One is, mistakes upon mistakes, and obviously we beat ourselves. So with that said, there's two things. One, I want to shed a little light on what I think are some positives, at least from the beginning of the game, and then I have to refute a point made by a curler earlier, which I just didn't see at all. First is, the run defense, I was concerned about that coming into this game because the way the Chargers gashed us, they only ran the ball like 13 times or 12 or whatever it was. But the Saints ran the ball 30 times, and they only averaged 2.9 yards. So our run defense had the best game it's had in a long time. So that was a positive. The fact that the turnovers are what killed us, obviously. But a couple other things on the beginning of the game. On the second drive, I was like, wow, we're making a lot of first downs on first, second down. And I looked it up right before we scored our second touchdown, which we did score on a third down play. At that point in the game, we were 0 for 0 on third downs. So every first down on the entire first drive and every first down up to that touchdown play on the second drive were on first or second downs. And to me, that's a huge positive because that's what winning teams do. Is winning teams get first downs on first and second downs. They don't put themselves in the spot where it's third down or do or die fourth down. So I thought that was a positive. I was very, very optimistic at that point. And another thing on Jackson, who had that terrible fumble when he was carrying the ball like I don't know, like what he was carrying.
Like it was a loaf of bread.
Yeah. Is that on the earlier run? I think it was on the second drive. I'm not sure. He had a big run, and he actually was carrying the ball. And I said, "Wow, that's a great sign. That's not. I mean, for a rookie especially, he was carrying the ball tucked on the right side, and he was running left. And when the tacklers were coming at him from the right, he switched the ball over to the left side, just like he's supposed to do. So he did exactly the right thing then. But obviously, that fumble later was inexcusable. Now, as to the caller, Scott from New Mexico, I love your calls, but I just didn't see what he saw. I mean, our defense, I thought our defense did very well. I mean, they only gave up 19 points. They gave up 7 of the points were on, obviously, the fumble in that long fumble return. So that's not on the defense at all. So it's 19 to start with. 6 of those points were off turnovers. Mm-hmm. So really, the defense, just on its own, playing, all things being even, gave up 13 points, which isn't too bad. And that one pass play, okay, that was painful. But I thought the defense played pretty well. I really didn't see. There's always some missed tackles in the game, and I don't know who rates these things or grades them, but I didn't see this bad tackling that Scott was talking about. I just felt that, I mean, we even in this game, even with 5 turnovers, we even had more time of possession, which is almost incredible. But anyway, so I just wanted to look at the glass. Well, maybe not half full, but a quarter full.
There's water in the glass.
Then 3 quarters empty, right? Yeah, I just wanted to shed some light on that. And if the run defense can keep it up, and we got a big test on Thursday, I think we should be competitive. We just can't have turnovers. I mean, it's as simple as that. It's the killer. Thanks, guys, for taking the call, and I'll listen to your responses off the air.
Thank you, Tim, and always appreciate the positivity because you know what there's always a way to look at it that you're like, all right, listen, this wasn't as bad as some people might make it out to be.
Yeah, no, Tim, I appreciate the call, and I think in your reference to the other caller, Scott, who was talking about the defense, I think he was talking about on a macro level for this whole season. It wasn't specifically this Saints game because, to your point, like I said, the Giants came into this game giving up 6.1 yards per carry, and they clamped them down. I mean, really defensively, they gave up one big offensive play. Yeah. It was that 82-yard touchdown. But I think when you kind of look at, the offensive struggles, look, the game started perfect. Last week we talked about, man, you're going down to New Orleans, a lot of crowd noise. We're going to start fast. The Giants got an opening drive touchdown against the Chargers, and it felt like the place went nuts. And the defense all of a sudden started playing like their hair was on fire. Back-to-back weeks, opening drive touchdown, 8 plays. I mean, that was phenomenal. And I think that's exactly how you want to start on the road. First 2 possessions, both 8-play drives, both ended up in a touchdown. So that's exactly what you wanted to see. Red zone production, finished drives with a touchdown, no field goals, and everything looked great. So those are definitely things to build on. Now, why that didn't continue throughout the game is, I think, what they all have to figure out. And it's the players, it's execution. Because the plays that were working in those first couple of drives, those are plays that should have still been working as the game went along. They weren't trick plays, although the Giants did have a flea flicker trick play. And guess what? That should have been a touchdown. If it's got a little more air on that ball, then it probably is a touchdown.
Or if the receiver presses into the...
Yeah, if he doesn't, have to slow down for that.
Yeah.
Those little things are wrinkles, and they're all fixable things.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Jackson Dart fumble. The one thing that came to light when I was just talking with Daniel Bellinger was how humid and how hot it was down in that dome. And this is one of those factors that, if you don't play the Saints a lot down
because
there.
Because it was raining outside.
It was so humid outside, and all of a sudden it got hot and steamy inside. So when you think about that, what happens? Well, you start sweating. Your arms are sweaty.
Slippery a little bit.
He even mentioned that, hey, look, as he was reaching for the pylon, the ball started to slip out of his hands because he was so, he had a lot of perspiration on him.
Glistening.
Jackson Dart, ball slips out of his hand. Guess what? Perspiration, a lot of sweat. Same thing with Cam Scadaboo. And after the fumble, he was asking for new gloves. So I think those are things that are kind of like little hidden factors that, if you play down in New Orleans every year, if you're in that division, hey, look, it gets steamy in there, it gets hot. So even though you're indoors, there are still elements you have to be ready for and you have to adjust to. Rookie players, they're not thinking about stuff like that.
Yeah.
But those are other things that obviously crept up in this game because you saw the ball kind of slipping around a little bit.
Right. And as you mentioned, it is humid and steamy in there for all players, not just for the Giants,
right,
but for the Saints who maybe are anticipating that, expecting that, prepared for that, understanding that that's a possibility, they may adjust accordingly.
Yeah.
201-939-4513. Let's get our last call into the show. Marcus in California. Marcus, welcome to Big Blue Kickoff Live. You're on the show with Shaun and Madelyn. Calling from my hometown state,
how
too.
you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Shaun, thanks for all the times, man. You've made me cheer on and off the field.
Happy to do it,
I guess I just wanted to say, I would like to see Scadaboo 3 times in a row up the middle right off the bat and make them not want to tackle anymore. But it seems like I don't know where we go from here. Like, I don't see anybody surviving the season. It's kind of getting, unwatchable. But I do think we could beat the Eagles and save Daboll's job. So Shaun already hit on my one point, or not Shaun, but John did. I just feel like over the last few years, even the last decade, that we've just relied on too many rookies to have big roles, and it's kind of been like the despair of our season, each and every year. But
well, Marcus, you said you wanted to see more Scadaboo. He's a rookie.
No, I know, but he's punishing up the middle. And we have no choice, right? We really don't have a choice. If Tracy was healthy, I wouldn't mind seeing Scadaboo 3 times up the middle and then, Tracy 3 times behind Andrew Thomas and then some play action, would be nice. I just mean, it's always that. It's like Kayvon and Evan Neal when they were rookies. We had Banks, a number 1 corner. We, relied on him as a rookie. It just seems every year we expect these rookies to just do things, and I think that we end up ruining them is what I really think. Azeez Ojulari broke Lawrence Taylor's sack record, and then for some reason we couldn't find a way to keep him on the field. That's all I'm saying. It just seems like a pattern, and I don't want anybody fired. I want us to go out and beat the Eagles like I know we could do. We should have a top 10 defense on paper. There's no reason for 2nd and longs and 3rd and 18s to get picked up every game. Let's go out there and beat the Eagles and show them, that the Chargers and Dallas game wasn't a fluke.
Amen.
And that's who we are.
Let's do it.
So,
I like that.
Let's go save everybody's job, man.
I agree with you. Look, anytime we play the Eagles, I don't care whose record is what. We're playing the Eagles, we are out for blood. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if we're both 4-0 or if we're both 0-4. This game, it's a passionate game.
Mm-hmm.
Giants fans don't want to hear the Eagles fans saying that stupid cry in our own stadium. They don't want to see us down there, doing our thing down at the link. So this is, this is definitely this is a physical rivalry. The fact that it's on a short week changes things a little bit because this is always a physical game. But I feel like, as you start to get into the season and now the Thursday night games, a lot of times these games end up starting out kind of slow because everybody's, it's not a normal week. You're kind of getting your body into, some of the older guys are still recovering from the previous game. So,
right.
But this, the fact that it's Thursday night, it's prime time, these are all added elements. But yeah, I don't know. I think, forget about, as a player, you kind of put blinders on. You go through September. We used to break it up. Coach Kickoff used to break it up into 4 phases. Phase 1 was the first 4 weeks. All right. How do you do in that? And then you go into phase 2 and you just kind of focus on those segments. And then any divisional game in those segments obviously adds a lot of juice to that week and to that game. But look, this is big. This is big for the Giants. This is big for the Giants fans. It's another nationally televised game. Sunday night against Kansas City didn't go great offensively. I think it's the same formula. Yeah. Start fast at home again. So you got to get up early against
finish strong.
These Eagles team.
Yeah.
Get up early on them. You don't want to get in a shootout where you're throwing the ball 55 times. And amen to, look, let's get Cam Scatterbo. Let's get him 25 to 30 carries. He's one of those guys that's going to wear down a defense. And if you could do it in combination with Tyron Tracy, that's great.
Well, and to Marcus's point, too, though, about the rookies, it's like, you want to give rookies an opportunity. Everyone was a rookie at one point. Malik Neighbors, his rookie year, look at how much of an impact he made. Cam Scatterbo, his rookie year, already making an impact right there. So for every player that is a rookie that maybe, okay, you want to see something more from them, you draft these guys high because you want to give them an opportunity to make an impact on your team. So I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing.
That's the way the league is now.
That's how you build a team.
You look around the league.
Yeah.
When I was playing, if you got drafted, we weren't counting on you to start week 1. We were like, hey, look, just don't get in the way. All right, go hold that bag over there. Make sure you bring the breakfast sandwiches in, and we may need you at some point in the season. Now you draft a guy in the first round. It's like, dude, you better be able to play. Like, you're going to sink or swim, and we're going to find out right away. So I feel like the league has definitely gotten younger from that standpoint.
Right.
And there's still so much money, and you get drafted in the first round, so it's like, we're paying you this. You got to start playing. We got to get something out of you right away. And to your point, look, Malik Neighbors, phenomenal season as a rookie. Saquon Barkley was rookie of the year. Odell Beckham Jr. was, he started out with a hamstring injury and still ended up, setting records his rookie year. So there's been a lot of production from young players. I think you look around the league, you need that, and that's kind of how it goes.
But to your point, too, about, when you played, having a rookie saying, okay, get the breakfast sandwiches and don't get in the way, that's oftentimes the circumstance for a team that is an established team that is having some success.
Not a top 5 pick.
Right. If you're picking top 5, you are building that. So when you're building that, of course, you got to put the rookies in a position to have an impact and see if they can sink or swim. When you've already hit that point and you are having consistent playoff success, are consistently, functioning at a high level, then you're drafting the reserves, then you're drafting the backups. But right now, where the Giants are is they're building their team, and so these rookies who are early on in draft picks are going to have to be put out there on the field to make an impact.
Yeah, and the hope is that they learn these lessons now.
Yeah,
and then the wins next year are because they have gone through this before, and now it's okay. You know what? Now all of a sudden we're going to win some games because they have already been through that experience. They understand what not to do and how to go about doing it the right way.
Yeah. But you know what? It's a short week. We're turning it around. We're getting back on the field. Thursday Night Football, Giants, Eagles at MetLife Stadium. Hope to see you there. We will be there for Giants postgame live afterwards.
Let's do it.
So don't skip out on us. We'll try to bring some joy and some positivity.
Yeah, hopefully we're high-fiving and hugging just like last home game.
If you didn't see Shaun hit the sprinkler, you missed out. But you know what? Giants Birds, Thursday Night Football. Let's go. Thanks for joining us from the Giants Podcast Studio presented by Hackensack Meridian Health. Keep getting better. For the Super Bowl champion, Shaun O'Hara, I'm Madelyn Burke, and that's been a wrap on today's episode of Big Blue Kickoff Live, brought to you by Cadillac, part of the Giants podcast platforms everywhere, and giants.com/podcasts. We'll see you next time.